Welcome back, everybody. You're watching the horror movies that we loved of 1953. These are the best horror movies that we loved of 1953. You're watching Yesteryear, and today I'm Tony. If you haven't already, click subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let's get started and get scared. Let's see the horror movies that were scaring us, scaring people back then in 1953. Coming up next is Scared Stiff with Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. You can't mess with Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Fleeing a murder charge, a busboy and a nightclub singer wind up on a spooky Caribbean island inherited by a young woman. So this is scary comedy, horror, and musical. Scared Stiff. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Who doesn't like The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms? A ferocious dinosaur awakened by an Arctic atomic test terrorizes the North Atlantic and ultimately New York City. Why is it going to be New York City? Notice that? But The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms is awesome. Invaders from Mars. Again, the theme from outer space. A young boy learns that space aliens are taking over the minds of Earthlings. Invaders from Mars. Horror and sci-fi. So now the trend is, in the early 50s now, a bunch of sci-fi movies. Genre with horror and aliens. It came from outer space. A spaceship from another world crashes in the Arizona desert, and only an amateur stargazer and a schoolteacher suspect alien influence when the local townsfolk begin to act strangely. It came from outer space. I love these space movies of the 50s. The Magnetic Monster. The Office of Scientific Investigation sends A-Man agents to investigate reports of unusual magnetic activity in various communities. The Magnetic Monster. Horror and sci-fi. The 50s were pretty good with a lot of sci-fi movies coming out. One of the classic best films of all time, The War of the Worlds. A small town in California is attacked by Martians, beginning a worldwide invasion. The War of the Worlds with H.G. Wells, and this movie was awesome. Catwoman of the Moon. Astronauts travel to the moon, where they discover it is inhabited by attractive young women in black tights. This is obviously adventure, sci-fi, comedy, and horror. Catwoman of the Moon. So check that out if you want to have a few good laughs. Donovan's Brain. 3 scientists unlawfully remove the still living brain of a dead tycoon and experiment with it, but the evil brain begins to telepathically control the lead scientist. How about that? Donovan's Brain. You take a brain out, and it's living on its own, and it's controlling somebody else. Dracula's Istanbul. Azim is a lawyer from Istanbul. Dracula of Romania has assumed a new title. Azmi travels to Romania for legal matters. He is warned of Dracula, but Azmi is a strong believer of goodness. So this is the Dracula movie from Istanbul. El Monstruo Resucitado. The Resuscitated Monster. The first major medical sci-fi movie in Mexico. Loosely based on the Frankenstein story, but injecting gory surgical motifs into it, laying the foundations of the genre that came to dominate. The Black Vampire. The feminist reworking of Fritz Lang's classic M focuses on the mothers of children stalked by a deranged pedophile. So they're talking about pedophiles in this movie. Drama, horror, and mystery. The Black Vampire. Pretty spooky, huh? The House of Wax. Who does not like the House of Wax? An associate burns down a wax museum with the owner inside, but he survives only to become vengeful and murderous. So the House of Wax is good because he turns people into wax, and you can know if it's real or fake. Mesa of Lost Women. A mad scientist, all these scientists, named Arana is creating giant spiders and dwarfs in his lab on Zarpa Mesa in Mexico. He wants to create a master race of superwomen by injecting his female subjects with spider venom. Mesa of Lost Women. Canadian Mounties versus Atomic Invaders. A villain named Marlov attempts to set up secret missile bases inside Canada so he can launch missiles at the US. Can you believe that? He wants to attack the US from Canada. Canadian Mounties versus Atomic Invaders. Phantom from Space. When an asteroid crashes, the search begins to track down the mysterious aliens. Phantoms from Space. Horror and sci-fi. Again, the theme of 1953 is outer space, aliens attacking, invading the US. The Neanderthal Man. Horror and sci-fi. Professor Groves, an expert in prehistoric life. How are you going to be an expert? Proves his theories with an extract that will regress a cat to a saber-toothed tiger and a man to a Neanderthal man. So they're playing God. And lastly, we have The Maze. Drama, fantasy, and horror. A Scotsman abruptly breaks off his engagement to Pretty Kitty and moves to his uncle's castle in the Scottish Highlands, where he creates a maze and web of deceit and starts killing people. The Maze. Drama, fantasy, and horror. Those were the horror movies that we loved of 1953. What are your thoughts on those horror movies? You remember any of these movies? Were there any horror movies of 1953 that I possibly left out? Let me know below. Alright, you're watching Yesteryear, and today I'm Tony. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, click subscribe, hit that notification bell, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.